The Ghost Plane of Kabul. The night was thick over Afghanistan, the kind of moonless darkness that swallowed sound before it could travel. The AC-130 gunship, Spectre 04, drifted at 12,000 feet, its engines humming steadily as it circled above the jagged black silhouettes of the Hindu Kush mountains inside. Red interior lights cast long shadows across the gunship's cramped compartments. The crew had expected another tense but routine night of Overwatch. Nothing more. But at 2:17 hours, everything changed. Contact, unknown aircraft, bearing 146, altitude 9,000, the sensor operator muttered, squinting at his green glowing radar screen. The flight deck went silent. At that altitude, in that location, at that hour, nothing should have been flying with its lights off. Is it one of ours? The co-pilot asked. No transponder, no IFF, no radio, the operator replied. A ghost. The AC-130's infrared sensors locked onto a faint shape sliding through the darkness between the mountains, flying distressingly low, almost scraping the ridgelines. Possible Taliban transport? The mission commander said. Taliban don't fly, someone responded quietly. But the radar return was unmistakable. A twin-engine aircraft, moving steady, unhurried, almost drifting. The mission commander radioed Bagram Air Base. Within minutes, 2 F-16s from the 555 fighter squadron were airborne. The intercept at 0233, the Vipers caught up Captain Reyes leading the pair, came up on the radio. Spectre 04, we have visual on the bogey. Damn, that's an old Soviet Antonov cargo plane. The entire AC-130 crew stared at the feed relayed to their screens. The Antonov AN-26, a dusty relic of the Soviet era, glided ahead of the F-16s, silent. Lights off, flying like a ghost sliding through the black void. Bogey is unresponsive. No radio contact, Reyes said. He pulled his Viper close enough to see the cockpit through his night vision visor. Request permission for wing rock communication attempt. Granted. Reyes wiggled his Viper's wings. The universal follow me gesture. No response. Zero reaction. The Antonov continued straight, as if on invisible rails. The second Viper pilot spoke. His voice held a strange tightness. Lead, I don't see movement in the cockpit. The forced landing. Bagram gave the order, forced the unknown aircraft to land. Reyes maneuvered ahead of it, dropping flares, blazing trails of light in the night sky. Still no reaction. Spectre 04, it's not responding to any signals. We're going to escort it down manually. The Antonov banked toward Kabul airport, descending steadily, eerily steadily. Almost too steadily, it touched down harder than normal, bouncing once before rolling to a lopsided stop on the dimly lit runway. Freeze. Nobody exited. No lights flipped on. No doors opened. The aircraft sat there, dead as a tomb. Boarding the Ghost Special Forces truck screeched up to the Antonov. Operators in night vision goggles stormed forward, weapons ready. They breached the cargo door. Inside, nothing. Not nothing as in empty, but nothing alive. The cargo hold was completely bare. Dust thick enough to write in coated the metal floor. There were no crates, no bags, no documents. Just emptiness. The soldiers advanced toward the cockpit. Flashlights stabbed the darkness. Cockpit secure! But something was wrong, very wrong. There were no pilots. Both seats were empty. Belts unbuckled. No blood. No signs of struggle. No one. Yet the control panel was illuminated in standby glow. Gauges steady. Autopilot engaged. The plane had flown itself, but someone had to put it into the air. Where were the crew? Maintenance crews and intelligence officers swarmed the Antonov until dawn. They found no flight plan, no cargo, no fingerprints, no trace of recent human presence, no tools, no maps, no fuel log, no personal belongings. The only clue lay in the autopilot system. It had been programmed to maintain a very specific altitude and heading, flying low enough to avoid radar, high enough to stay above mountain ridges, a route only an experienced pilot could plan. Yet no pilot was aboard. Some theorized the crew bailed out mid-flight, but there were no parachute sightings, no ground reports, and no bodies. Afghan villages in the region reported nothing unusual. Others suggested smugglers abandoned the aircraft, but smugglers don't abandon perfectly functioning airplanes that cost millions. A few whispered darker possibilities. Covert foreign intelligence operations, or a deliberate distraction meant to test air defenses. Nothing proved true. The Antonov had no registered owner. No country claimed it. The tail number was fake. Serial plates had been scratched off. It truly was a ghost plane. The aftermath. For 2 weeks, the aircraft remained under guard at Kabul's military side. Technicians combed every inch, eventually towing it into a hangar to be dismantled. Every component was logged and photographed. When they reached the flight data recorder, they discovered one final mystery. The plane had taken off from an unmarked dirt strip in the mountains. But satellite images showed nothing existed at that location. No airstrip, no village, no roads, just barren Rocky Mountain. Even old Soviet maps showed no structure there. When a reconnaissance team visited the coordinates, they found no signs an aircraft had ever been there. No tire marks, no runway, nothing, like the plane had materialized from thin air. What the pilots said capped. Reyes, the F-16 pilot who first saw it, was interviewed weeks later. He said, it wasn't flying like a normal aircraft. It kept perfect altitude, perfect heading, no corrections, no drift, no instability, like a drone, but too smooth, too precise. When asked about the cockpit being empty, he answered quietly, that's the part I can't explain. Some things you see once in your career, and you never forget. The official explanation. NATO's official report listed it as unregistered cargo aircraft, crew unaccounted for. Unofficially, pilots still call it the Ghost Plane of Kabul, a mystery that flew through the night, perfectly stable, without a single living soul on board.